Oh yeah, Midway Radio's back. It's your boy Carlos Gomez. This week we're going to talk to Jabari Evans, aka Naledge. Yeah, welcome to Midway Radio. Midway Radio. It's like comics, but instead of superheroes, we have DJs. DJs like the one and only DJ Risky Business.
Thank you.
Oh, I hate it when you do that. Moving on.
Remember that some people are listening to this and not watching, so they can't see it when you
Shut up. Thank you.
Risky's talking in Braille. Get out of here, boy.
Rest in peace, Stan Lee.
There you go.
First, before we get into that.
Before we get all sad and stuff, let's happy it back up. DJ Sean Doe is here.
Yo, what up, everybody?
My mellow, my man. How's that?
That's right.
Woo-hoo. Oh, hey, let's talk to the guy with the beard, the big manly beard, not that fake shit that Risky has.
Oh,
Manly beard.
Wait a minute. This guy looks fucking homeless, and I got a clean cut.
Yeah, he looks like a lumberjack. Your ass looks like you eat flapjacks.
He's hungry, man. Dinner. This thing gets another couple inches on it.
Lord have mercy.
So let me be the first one to apologize to Naledge. My brother's out there doing big things, getting his PhD done and stuff, and then he has to hang out with us. I'm sorry.
Oh. We're here to bring down everybody's IQ.
That's right.
Yeah, right.
Lord have mercy.
Welcome. Oh, hey. As always, well, not always, but we like to bring some updates. So do we have any this week?
We do. We've got a couple. One is next week is episode number 50. So yeah, we're trying to get some things lined up. One of the things that we are doing, though, we're going to give away a Midway T-shirt. So to do that, we're going to pick a random winner during the episode, and to enter, all you got to do is tag us on Twitter or Instagram with hashtag Midway Radio, and just share with us one of your favorite Chicago hip hop memories, and then tag Midway Radio, and then. Yeah, you get to get your pick of one of the shirts that we got up on the site.
Is it just that easy?
It's just that easy. We're a bunch of easy, laid-back going individuals.
That's a PhD way of saying lazy AF.
So that's one. And aside from that, I want to give a shout out to Artistic and Shyrock Nation. For having an amazing event on Saturday. Risky and I were able to stop by for a little bit, and
so dope. I mean,
yeah.
Remember in Run's house in the beginning of the song when Run goes, "We have a whole lot of superstars on this stage here tonight."
That's dope.
Last night.
Hey, why you change your why you change your accent, dude?
What?
You changed your accent.
You kind of did. I hear it.
You see? Go
ahead.
Oh
my God. Anyway, I was doing the line. Anyway, there was a whole lot of superstars there. I mean,
I don't even know if I want to go through and name people because it's
all the founders of Shyrock, which is so important. From JMD, Ange 13, Scope, Speedy, Fahim Shabazz, Pac-Man, tons of people. And then the new kids, you know, we saw Young Nonstop, who was one of the newest members of Chirac Nation. He's like 13-year-old B-boy. And
Cassius D and
Cassius D, yep.
King Shaka Zulu and Crash Man. Were you there for Crash Man?
I did not see Crash Man. I had already left.
So they went. It was cool. It was at an event. It was at a community center down on 75th, and it's a cool spot. So in the first room, there was like a gallery. There's a bunch of graffiti stuff and a bunch of some artifacts of some stuff, and they had some food. They had some dope food. I didn't eat because I ate before I came down, but they had some really good smelling food, and then they moved over to this other side, which is almost like a banquet hall type thing where they had tables up, and then they had like a big stage. So there's people sitting around these round tables. It was very formal. It was almost like an award show, and they did give out awards too, which I don't have the list of award winners in front of me, but
it was Speedy's 50th as well, and then the celebration of Artistic's book, Chirac, and then and of course the anniversary for Chirac.
Yeah. So they're cool enough to let us to let us speak about Midway a little bit. Of course, for those that don't know, Artistic is also part of the Midway team, and so we got up there and we just being B-Boy B. Went up and talked for a little bit and just gave a little bit of an update about the project to the folks there. And
shout out to Flash. I was talking to Flash, and he's always so knowledgeable about everything. I love talking to that guy.
Yep.
ABC crew. Teal was there. I caught up with Teal. MUL.
I did not see Teal there, but
yeah, Teal was there.
Breaker
Ray.
IZQ.
Yeah.
Massive.
Yeah. I hate that I couldn't be there, man. I was out in the sticks DJing a gig, and I just thought about you guys, like,
dude. Everybody, like, almost every, like, I felt. I just had like a Midway T-shirt on, and I felt like out of place because like everybody had on like their B-boy outfits, man. It was crazy. Everybody was rocking the Kangles and the full Adidas suits, and like.
I will say this. I think that. And I don't know if Dr. Groove was there, but outside of like Dr. Groove, like the whole foundation of Chicago hip hop, the actual important key members who founded everything were there that night.
Yeah, there was people. I forget what Artistic told me yesterday. How many different there was? I want to say close to 20 different states from people coming in from that were there.
Nice.
Yeah, and it was at the Quarry. It was called the Quarry. It's 76.
The Quarry.
Quarry.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought it was the Quarry. I thought you were talking about the Quarry. I've been there before.
Yeah, Quarry.
Yeah. Do you pronounce it the Quarry?
I mean,
I don't know.
I can't say I got the correct.
I just said the Quarry. And Sean Doe's over here like
it's not the Quarry. I know it's not the Quarry.
Quarry.
It's not Quarry like.
It's not Quarry like.
It's kind of like what you said though. You said the Quarry.
That's how you say it. The Quarry.
Why?
Yeah. But yeah, it's 76 and Yates.
Yeah, I know exactly where you're talking about.
Yeah,
I grew up over here.
Oh yeah.
I saw a jazz event there. It was amazing. So yeah, I hope that played.
At the Quarry.
Yeah, the Quarry. Not at the Quarry.
That's what's funny.
Last name felt.
What's funny is that's the whole thing that tripped him up.
So what I do want to say though is that, like, you know, we're up there, we're giving updates to the project, and you know, there's definitely some people there that you know, that a lot of people that we've interviewed already, a few people that we haven't interviewed yet that we're going to. One of the people, Braze from Buck Crew.
Oh, I'm glad you caught up with him because I've been trying to catch up with him.
Yeah, so we exchanged information. I didn't have his information, so we exchanged information, and he made like a passing comment, like, "Yeah, somebody told me you guys were done interviewing." And I'm like, "No." So to reiterate for the I don't know how many times, like, we are not done interviewing. We're still in production. We're still doing this. So as I said that night, and I'm going to say it again, if we have not talked to you and we told you we are going to talk to you, that is still going to happen.
Yes.
If we haven't reached out to you, please reach out to us, because sometimes we don't have contact information or other things like that. So like,
and sometimes we just don't know that we should be talking to you. Like we've had moments where, you know, this whole team knows a lot, but collectively, but there are things and people that we don't know we should be talking to, in which other people explain why we should be talking to them. We are not at any, there's no one on this team that is above learning why we need to, you know, we want to make sure that we get this thing as correct as possible. And we're not here to say, oh, we don't know who it is, so we're not talking to them. That defeats the whole point of the whole film.
Yep.
Is it safe to say we are here to learn too?
Absolutely.
It is very safe.
Yeah, I just want to put that out there in a nice way.
Yeah,
we're not pretending like we know everything. We're trying to get there too.
Yeah, I think collectively we have a large knowledge base between me and B and Sean and Artistic and all these other people that, and then we constantly reach out to people. Ryan, of course. It goes without saying. Like, we collectively go, you know, where we go out, collectively we have this vast knowledge base, but at the same time, you can't close yourself off just because you don't know it. Like, and a lot of people have because I'll show people the website and they'll be like, remember, we've gotten not like a backlash, but like where people are like, who are these people? I don't know half these people.
Exactly.
And we look at each other, we're like, it's the whole fucking point, bro. Right. Like, it's the whole fucking point for you to get to know them and understand why. Because unfortunately, with the segregation, and not just even racial segregation, but gang segregation, all the different levels of segregation that this city produces.
City segregation, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Just, you know,
West Side.
We have pockets where people like think that everything exists just in this part of town and everything's done the same way. And I kind of, it's weird. Like I've said it, it's kind of almost like a pizza where like a pepperoni pizza, right? You have this, Chicago's this big, huge pie. And then you have like kind of like the dots, like what should be like the pepperonis, just in different spots. And those are different crews and circles. And everybody thinks they were the first, or they were this, or they were that and that. But at the same time they were doing it, someone's on the north side doing something very, very similar. And they weren't aware of each other. And maybe some of them became aware of each other, but they didn't understand the history, you know? So,
yeah.
But that was
hard to get it right in Chicago. Like, it's hard to get people to say, hey, this is the definitive anything in Chicago, because everybody has their own opinion, but we're a city of neighborhoods. And so that's the way it's always been. So we're going to,
absolutely.
There's always going to be different lenses that enter into play. And as a creator, you guys are creators. So everything is subjective to a certain degree with art. So we're going to gravitate first to the people we know and to the scenes that we loved and the things we appreciated. And then it'll snowball from there. And then, you know, I mean, I think you guys have a pretty like, I won't say exhaustive, but like, I looked at the list and I was like, y'all got a lot of people. Y'all got people.
It's pretty exhausting. It's pretty exhausting.
Like both things, both what you and Risky are saying is
got a lot of people.
Yeah,
got a lot of people. You know, I think, you know, in terms of people, particularly those who were performers, I think you guys have even moved into like the ancillaries of promoters, street team people, marketing people. You know, I saw you guys even interview my guy Sharif, marketing guy. He's not a, you know, MC or a producer, but he was a kid in the hip hop scene who hung out with a lot of different people in our scene, and has touched a lot of different things and has been in a lot of different circles.
Well,
but
that's
like
the message we're trying to really push, is that this hip hop, again, and we reiterate it over and over, it's not music. It is a cultural movement. So you can be hip hop and not be an MC or a DJ, or even you can be as hip hop as anybody, and you're not a master of any of the elements, but you are a part of that scene. You know, we had the as they're not big super fans of being called that, but they are known as, you know, the Polo Twins, right? Anton and Anthony. They were so important to the fashion movement, and so we had to include them because they weren't doing anything as far as MCing, b-boying, or any of that. But when they went to a party, everybody knew that it was going to be. If you saw them at a party, that was the dopest place to be that night.
Yeah,
that's real though.
It kind of just a quick, like, kind of piggyback on what you guys are talking about, and relating it to Midway. Talked with Artistic and B-Boy B yesterday, and like there's you know, there's some other people doing like books and stuff like that aside from Artistic, and you know, like B-Boy B is doing one that's specific on graph, and there's like and there's a bunch of other people doing things, and we're kind of like, you know, at this point people know what Midway is about and they know what we're trying to accomplish. Like there's nobody can go to our site and think that there's like an agenda that we're trying to push one way or another. And, you know, and I would hope that everybody would be like, oh shit, I want to have my piece, you know, and I want to tell my story in there as it is. And it's like, we're doing this documentary, and however it turns out, you know, obviously if there's going to be stuff that we, I mean, there's no, you could have a 20-hour documentary and still leave stuff out. Like there's no way you're going to cover everything. We're going to try to be as thorough as possible with what we have. And there's going to be room for anybody else to come and do their own documentary on whatever they want to do. The one thing that I will say, and I think I can say this pretty confidently, is that the reason that we think Midway, or the reason that I say Midway is going to be the definitive Chicago hip hop documentary is because we've already interviewed 250 people.
Already. And we know we still got more, but we've already interviewed that many people.
And I think I can speak for everybody that's on this podcast and for the team members that aren't here, saying how much work that is over years to collect that. And, you know, so just from that standpoint, I hope people, you know, understand.
The work alone, there's about 30% of maybe about 30 that 30% of those people on there are people that I spent 5, 6, 7 hours like
every day for a week,
like a week, tracking down unlimited amount of phone calls, emails, connecting, and then convincing them that this random kid who they don't know, I might be from the hip hop community, but they don't fucking know who I am, you know, and they're like, who the fuck are you and why do you want to talk to me? And then I had to kind of like convince them, like, I'm not some asshole trying to just like waste their time.
So basically, for anybody that's watching this right now that feels like they need to be interviewed, there's a way to get in touch with us. All you have to do is go to our website and get in touch with us. Like, if we don't know like who you are and you think we know who you are and you think we are supposed to get in touch with you, no, it's not going to work like that. Please go to our website and contact us, and we will definitely get back at you.
And I do want to say this, for people that are concerned we're just interviewing anybody and everybody, we do have a vetting process in place, and it varies like anything. It has to be kind of subjective and on a case-by-case basis, because some people are no-brainers and some people are like, it's just like, you can't be some dude who just did a fucking mixtape and be like, oh, I put a mixtape out in fucking 2007 and everybody, and I have fucking, you know, and I rapped it sub T 20 times. Like, that doesn't mean that you impacted the fucking story and the cultural movement, you know?
That's why they're not chomping at the bit to get my ass in front of the camera. They don't care what I have to say.
Your mixtape fire. People should heard.
Well, at least we know your artwork will be dope. Like, I'll buy the mixtape for the artwork, bro.
Like, you know, I use Pauly Think as an example because a lot of people aren't necessarily super familiar with Pauly Think, but I thought Pauly Think was a cool person to add to the story because he does add something. Yeah, he doesn't have this massive discography that other crews have or other people have, but he's very important to Chicago hip hop story because of some of the things that he did and the sacrifice. First of all, he is an MC. He put out several 7-inches. And why he did 7 inches is because he's also in punk groups and he comes from the punk scene, right? Which that story is already interesting, right? So he was a kid who was from the city who was in love with punk and also in love with hip hop, which punk and hip hop are as parallel as anything can be musically, right? They both are sending the same messages in certain ways. At least from the get-go, from their early existence. So he loved being an MC, and he was trying to include that into, and we're talking like he was putting out records in like 96, 97. So he's been around for a while. First of all, it's a big thing if you actually put out a record, like a vinyl record. If you're putting out a vinyl record versus like some kid throwing out a fucking CDR mixtape, whatever. But that just shows the dedication for one thing, but that's not why we did it. He was integral in bringing the punk and hip hop scene together that was very popular in the late 90s, early 2000s. He was the one that put together all the Fireside Bowl hip hop shows. So in late 90s, 2000s, there was a huge movement on the North Side where tons of people were doing shows at the Fireside Bowl. Fireside Bowl was strictly a rock and punk place. He was the one that kind of forced their hand at bringing in hip hop into it.
That's a big deal.
Which I saw Vakil perform there. I saw Atmosphere perform there, all tons of different groups. But one of the stories that I loved was when he talked about Ben Weasel. And this was him kind of fighting for hip hop, right? Ben Weasel, if anybody listening doesn't know, Ben Weasel was the singer and founder of a group called Screeching Weasel. Screeching Weasel is a internationally popular, known Chicago punk band. They are, as far as like that kind of that punk world, they're cream of the crop. So Ben Weasel, I don't think it was on necessary, and I don't know. I can't state this. I because the way he described it in the story, I don't know if he was having issues with them being like Black and Latino kids, or if. But I think the way he described it is he was thinking hip hop was super gangbangery, and he was like, and he was afraid.
You know what that was?
Gangbangery.
Gangbangery.
You know what that was?
Whatever that is. So I just thought he felt like, I think Ben was saying that it was going to bring a bad out. I mean, fuck it, he could have been a fucking racist punk. Who knows? But I think what he was saying is, because the way Pauly did, I want to get his story right, but he was like, the guy was like, he was afraid it was going to bring in like a bad element, right, into the scene, into the punk scene, right? Oh my God. So Ben Weasel is out in front of like Betty's, what used to be Betty's. And fucking Pauly Think runs to the fucking Jewel. He's so mad at him for like trying to stop his hip hop night. He runs to the fucking Jewels, grabs a, and I had to say Jewels, yes, because the S is silent. Or not silent, but the S is added. So he runs to the Jewels and he gets a fucking pie and he runs up to Ben Weasel in front of everybody and fucking pies Ben Weasel in the face over this whole hip hop punk thing. And then eventually they let him do the fucking night and it was a big thing. But I think that's another little pocket of Chicago hip hop that should be known, you know? Part of the story.
So that being said, everything that we said, if there's anybody that can relate to what we're doing, especially from an educational standpoint, it is our guest tonight.
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice segue.
Nice segue.
Knowledge. How racist is punk rock?
Punk rock. What is it?
I'm playing.
Knowledge, sir. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Other than the fact that it's starting to snow here, but you know, it is what it is.
Oh shit, is it?
Yeah.
What's
Damn
that?
it.
What's that?
Real talk. It's Chicago.
Here, everything's on fire.
This is true. Are you? That's everything is south of you right now, right?
East and a little bit north.
So is it heading your way?
Yeah, kind of. The smoke is at least, so that means yeah.
Speaking of that fire, did you see Everlast? I follow Everlast on Instagram, and his house fucking burnt the fuck up.
Oh, dang.
Like Everlast is first off, Everlast is dope. Like, if you're not following him, follow him. But he's a huge like sneaker collector and art collector, and he showed like one of his big pieces, like his cause piece, like burnt. And I was just devastated for him. But his family, they're all safe, and everybody's cool. I'm sure he has a super insurance like on that shit, so I'm sure he's gonna get get paid. But yeah, his shit is fucking burned to the ground.
Yeah, as I go to Instagram to follow Everlast, I see that I have a new follower. Freeway.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Anyway, cool. Continue. I just wasn't expecting to see Philly Freeway.
Nice.
Follow me on Instagram.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I just followed OG Everlast, man, and he's super dope. But yeah, his shit's fucked up. I was mad.
Yeah, that's tough.
Crazy it is out here. Like LA's got their hands full, and up here up north, we got a fire over there that's like creeping along, and they can't contain it, and they don't know when they're gonna put it out. I told everybody, I dare you to let my stuff burn up. I am out this bitch. I am gone. I don't know where I'll be. Somewhere
not there anymore.
Somewhere where there's a lot of water.
Wasn't we doing this last year with you with the fire and shit? Like,
yeah.
Was it last year at this time?
A couple weeks earlier, yeah.
Yeah.
It was in October when it was happening.
Okay.
So for Halloween, not for Thanksgiving.
Nothing like the earth burning.
They just choose
taking its time.
They choose their holiday.
Anyway,
bring
this shit down. Knowledge is here, you guys. Stop it. Hey.
Yes.
You guys are the worst.
The worst.
When we were talking about jewels and stuff like that, Knowledge, you had chimed in. Where did you grow up? What neighborhood did you grow up in?
I grew up in South Shore. So
yeah, right there.
Where you were talking about over on Yates. I didn't grow up over that way. I grew up closer to Jeffrey Boulevard. So sure. I grew up off of like 74th and Jeffrey. So that's definitively what people in Chicago say over East. So I'm from South Shore. A lot of people think I'm from Hyde Park though, just due to the references in the music. And I did spend a lot of my childhood in Hyde Park. So I think Hyde Park sometimes claims me. But it's funny though, like real Hyde Parkers are like, they don't want you to claim them. So
yeah,
when I put it in the music, they were happy about it, but they were like, you're still not a Hyde Parker, you know what I mean? Ironically, now I live in Hyde Park, so
Hyde Park's always been a hip hop mecca though.
Like, take that, Hyde Park.
You know what I'm saying? I went to grammar school in Hyde Park. I played Little League in Hyde Park. You know, like one of the first.
Kind of growing up in Hyde Park.
Sure is.
The first record that I put out that had any traction was Go Ill State of Mind. And if you like listen to that record, like the whole day is about spending 24 hours in Chicago as a teenager. And the whole time I'm just talking about taking the 6 to Hyde Park from South Shore and hanging out in Hyde Park with like my like private school friends. And then they're getting a gateway to like their world and riding around with them and like hanging out with college kids and underage drinking and, you know, smoking and whatever else we was doing.
Allegedly.
Naledge, how did you start rapping?
So Memo from Moment, Quarry, that's my cousin. And so when I was a lot younger, he used to basically be my babysitter for the most part. And then he wouldn't really babysit me. He'd be sitting there making beats and I'd just be sitting there watching him. And so I was really curious about, you know, what was in his head going. And you know, he DJ'd, he did a lot of things. He always had people in and out of his crib as well. Like a lot of people that were in, you know, Moment, that collective were around. So I saw that and I just got interested. I wanted to be hip hop so bad. I just didn't know. I originally wanted to produce, but that wasn't my aptitude. I didn't know I wanted to DJ or produce. And then I felt like, well, if he don't want to teach me how to do that, then I could teach myself how to rap. And then maybe that'll be a way to connect with my cousin. So really, I don't know. Like I used to hang around and I think I bugged Quarry until he kind of like put me up to speed. He gave me a bunch of tapes and he said, kind of go home and study these. One was it was a Public Enemy tape. And he gave me trying to remember the 3 tapes he gave me. One was Common Sense, and then somebody else he gave me. And I went home and I just kind of listened to these tapes and studied them and tried to find my own style. And that eventually that got me to the point of wanting to put together a demo. And then that's kind of where that went from there. But I had to have been in like 7th, 8th grade trying to rap, you know. So
hey, Joe, the pedigree is real.
That's dope.
Yeah, man. I mean, now that I think about it, like Vakil used to be at his crib. Optimus Prime used to be at his crib.
Yeah.
Rhyme Fest and Quarry was like best friends. So I would see Fest or Che, whatever, rapping. Juice, obviously. Like these were people I looked up to. So they were going hard. Sean Lett, Doug Inf, you know, like all of these were people that my cousin was connected. He was plugged. Like Mo Man to this day. I mean, like I don't think they get enough credit for what they did. Then they had Midway Radio, so that was like the way for me to get on HPK, which at the time was like a big deal. You know, it still is somewhat of a big deal, but it was a rites of passage the same way Sub T on Tuesday was a rites of passage at that time, or being at the point. That was a rites of passage too. Like if people at the point thought what you did was dope, promontory point. So I mean, you know, like a lot of my memories stem from this kind of like South Shore / Hyde Park growing up experience where like half the time I was in the hood and then other half the time I was like in this whole other existence. And so I think that shows in just where my journey went. And also it's in the music, like this kind of trying to find my identity, because my friends in Hyde Park they were kind of like upper middle class, a little wealthier. And then I was going home to South Shore, and then, you know, they were looking at me one way, and it was like I was kind of caught in the middle. So like being in South Shore, I think my parents probably were on the upper end of that spectrum over there. But I think I probably was the poorest kid in my grammar school in Hyde Park, you know. So, you know, I grew up very middle class, middle of the road, and I think it reflected in the music. And so we tried to figure out, me and Double O, when we were working on the first album, we were trying to figure out how to capture that. Because it's like, we didn't want to get written off as just Ivy League kids, you know what I mean? We wanted to kind of give texture to that experience and not have people write us off as being like non-urban, because my experience is super urban, actually. You know what I mean? So
is that something that you think folks have to?
I just bring a different vantage point.
Is that something that you think folks have to worry about, like when they're coming out with music and stuff? Like,
not anymore.
Can your parents be too successful to ruin your career as an MC?
Not anymore. At the time, it was a big deal though. Like I used to not want to take credit for certain things, but I think I know for a fact I was one of the first and like come out and talk about saying like I got straight A's or I went to college and like kind of bragged about it a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Or talked about, you know, the fact that like my parents, you know, had PhDs and I mentioned that, you know what I mean? I didn't shy away from that stuff. And so, I mean, the title of the first album, School Was My Hustle. School still is my hustle. So it's like, it's funny, like when we sat in that meeting with Brian and Jared, they were the founders of Rockets Records, and they were like, we have to tie it to the hustle. Like they have to know that like you got a like the reason we signed you is because you have a hustle, and hustle is a word in hip hop that's always associated with urban, and it's just associated with this idea that you're slanging, and whether it's slanging raps or slanging whatever it is you're slanging.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it was like, I always worked the system. I worked the academics to death, and I'm still working. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I've always thrived in those systems. And so I just use that and I've always been able to integrate my hip hop stuff within it, you know, and it's always worked out for me and it's made me unique. And so, but I think I was one of the first people to really go at it like that. But don't get me wrong, like in those spaces, I remember they were trying to figure out how to market us, and I just don't think that's an issue anymore. And it's because groups like Kids in the Hall came out, like the Cool Kids, Pac Div, we came out talking about this existence at Little Brother, you know what I mean? But like everybody had their own lens on it, their own take on it. I mean, Kanye to an extent, he talked about dropping out though, you know what I mean? Whereas
right.
I was happily saying like school is, and then chose not to go. You know what I'm saying? Like I was being more braggadocious about it. So they were trying to figure out how to market us. And I think now you don't have to worry about that because you market yourself. It's direct to consumer. It's, everything is so transparent nowadays that you don't have to do that. And I think we made way for people like Chance and Vic Mensa and guys that, come from similar backgrounds, similar neighborhoods, and they don't have to worry about any of that because there was a precedent set before them. You know what I mean? Like, I think they don't have to worry about that at all.
Nope.
Nice. Was there ever, and I'm sure there is, but talk to me about that one time that you reflected back on all the people that you accidentally hung out with and you were like, holy shit.
Yeah. I mean, I did my LA stint. I think when I lived in LA, I think and living in New York, both of those places, when I was there creating and making music, particularly when I was in New York, because when I was in New York, like I was hanging out at Baseline Studios with, we were working with Just Blaze, and like the people who would be in and out of that studio on a daily basis, it was just like one day it'd be Jay Electronica is in there, the next day Havoc and Prodigy is in there, the next day Memphis Bleak and Beanie Siegel are there, the next day Saigon is there, the next day, like it was just a bunch of people in and out making their music, and you could just pop into people's sessions and hear what they were creating. Noriega, like all these people that I looked up to were coming through the studio, and from there, I think the other experience would be like we were one of the headliners on Rock, and I pretty much met every hip hop hero I had on that tour. It was the Tribe reunion tour, Farside reunion tour. Nas was a headliner. Common was on that bill. Black Star was on that bill.
Wow.
Like Pete Rock was on that bill. Like even thinking about the newer school people, like Wale was on that bill, Jay Electronica was on that bill. It was just, I literally met all of my heroes. The Roots were on that bill. Like it was crazy.
Damn.
It was a very crazy experience. And to meet these people and not only meet them, but have them be like, yo, I heard they could quote things from me. Met the man, Redman. Like this was my whole high school experience was on tour with me. And I was like, this shit is crazy. Like Q-Tip knows my name. Q-Tip knows my raps. Like that shit's crazy. Like, you know, doubt with that. Like he mentioned me like one night when they were on stage. He was talking about like the future. And he was talking about like the future of hip hop. And he was like, yeah, we need guys like Naledge from Kids in the Hall and Jay Electronica. And I was like, Q-Tip just said I'm one of the, you know, like, oh shit.
That's so
I was gonna walk around. I wish I had a camera. You know, we didn't have like camera shit on. Like that shit would be like, this is what Q-Tip said about me, and that would be in my profile forever. You know what I'm saying? like you know that. I remember getting off stage.
You should get a shirt made with it.
In Toronto, I remember Pete Rock literally spitting some shit that I wrote to me. Like I went up to him and said something. I don't remember what I spit to him. I was spitting one of his songs to him. And he was like, check this though. Like he said my shit back to me. And I was like, oh man, I was like, I went to heaven. I was like, can I come over? Can I come over and see the record collection? Because I had heard about this record collection he has at his crib in the basement. And he was like, anytime. And I was like, I went, that was like one of my top 5 experiences of all time in hip hop.
At what point did he say, okay, you can go home now?
You said
at
what?
At what point did he say, okay, you can go home now?
I mean, the crazy thing is that dude stays up all night. He's a vamp. So like, I kind of was like, we didn't have Ubers. If I had Uber, I probably would have left. But I was like, okay, like. And then I'm there with Double O, who's a beat maker, so he's super fanning out and shit. I'm just like, I want to rap on something. I'm like, can he make a beat so I can rap? Double O is like, I want to go through his record collection and shit. So and he lives in the middle of nowhere in New Jersey, so we were just kind of like stuck.
Yeah. How is Double O? Speaking of Double O,
he's Lupe's tour DJ. So like every time Lupe's in town, I see him, or sometimes I'll fly out to check a show or whatever. But he's been Lupe's tour DJ for 3 years now, and yeah, it's been a journey. I remember when he first got the call to like be his DJ, it was supposed to just be a temporary thing for like a 2-month run. In 2 months, it turned into 3 years. So.
Wow. Yeah, you take it when you can get it and run with it, right?
Yeah, I mean, Lupe does a good amount of shows. Lupe probably still does about, 80 dates a year. 80, you know what I'm saying? Like he's doing
that can help pay the bills for sure.
Yeah, like he's still doing pretty good numbers in terms of like tour dates and all of that stuff. So that's what he's doing. Still producing and DJing, but like the gig is like Lupe, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. For sure. You guys ever think about doing another Kids in the Hall record?
Yeah, we talk about it all the time. The
last one just came out last year, right?
Yeah, but see, even that was like old music. You know what I'm saying? Like we slacked on that. Like we created 2014, 2015 and didn't put it out to like 2017. Right? And so we hadn't like physically been in the studio together in a while. So we've talked about it though. And for me, like getting this PhD was just like all consuming. Like the first 2 years was like coursework and like getting used to just being in that grind again and like being asked to teach course. Like I was getting pulled in too many directions to even think about being lyrical. And it's funny that like people would be like, well, I would think you'd have all the time in the world because you're in school. And I'm like, well, actually it's the exact opposite because I don't really have structure to my day. So I have to create the structure. Sure. And so I have to be really deliberate. And I'm the type of person that I can get like really obsessive over my work. So the same energy I was putting into writing raps, I started to put into writing essays and writing papers and things of that nature and trying to publish work. And I talked to Ryan about this. I mean, I have like 4 or 5 research projects that I'm working on as we speak.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like, whoa. And then I'm trying to work on a dissertation. So it's just like, all right, well, when do you have time to really rap? You know what I mean? And so I have to be really deliberate about that. But I'm starting to get the more I'm around it, you get the itch. You get the itch to want to do it. You know what I mean? I have to be around it. And it's like I write about hip hop so much that I feel like I'd be fraud if I stopped creating it. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
you are hip hop, and that's not something that you'll ever lose.
Exactly.
You are in the embodiment of it. You lived it. You grew up part of the culture. Not only did you live and grow up as part of the culture, but you added so much to it for so many people. People can walk away with your records, and they're going to mean something to them, possibly for the rest of their lives. You've added something great to the culture. You've benefited the culture, and you know, now I feel like I have to call you Dr. Naledge.
Oh, it's coming. It's coming. I'm gonna copyright that.
Dude, you need to change the name of the new Kids the Hall because you grew up and now you're Doc Naledge.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. No, that's what's coming. I mean, it's
that's a dope name, Doc Naledge.
You heard it here first.
Because at first I was like, yo, should I even like? I had got to Northwestern and I was like, man, should I just, you know, I'm Jabari. I'm so used to being called Naledge that I was like, should I even introduce? Why I introduce myself at this point?
It's got to be rough going into some professor who doesn't even know anything about hip hop and you call yourself Naledge. Oh, my name's Naledge. Oh, really?
The people are on at the school, right? So I'm moving through campus. I'm just like, I don't even want people to necessarily. I think I mentioned a little bit. I'm like, yeah, you know, I rapped. You know, I did this back in the day. And I think they took it as like, oh, it was a hobby. He rapped you know, like he rapped with his friends and like did some open mics. And then like I think they hit like the Google button one day. Like, I don't know, like my colleagues, I come into the little like student work center. They have like a graduate student like center or whatever. And like I'm talking about, they're like, why didn't you tell us that you did this, and you did that, and you did this? You have a Wikipedia page. Oh my God. Like this.
I was watching you on YouTube.
They're like, why did you come back here? Like, why aren't you on the road? Like, why are you here? I was like, dude, like we all have journeys. Like that's not what you ask somebody when you find out what they were. You know what I mean? Like it's like asking a hooper, like why aren't you still in the NBA? It's just like, dude. Like,
I do want to make note, and I know, like,
let me be great.
I do want to make note that you quickly mentioned, but I do think it's worth mentioning. You got a PhD from. It's not like you went to fucking Everest or fucking Phoenix or some shit. You got a PhD from fucking Northwestern. Now, the people that don't understand, Northwestern College is one of the most prestigious schools in the world. It's a Big Ten school, yeah, but it's Northwestern is an extremely prestigious school. It's one of the top schools in the country, and if not the world. It's not like, and no offense to people that fucking got PhDs from anywhere else. I'm just saying the motherfucker deserves props.
No, I try to tell people this. So like the interesting part with this, right, is that you have people like Guru, who has taught at Harvard on audio engineering, right? And you have people like Knife Wonder, who's been working with Mark Anthony Neal over at Duke. And like people will come to me and be like, yeah, they're scholars. I'm like, no, don't get me wrong. Like they're doing work in academic institutions, but they don't have PhDs. Like that's a whole different thing. Or, you know, people have honorary degrees too, or they'll be given honorary doctorates. A lot of people have honorary doctorates. But like to really go through the rigors.
Yeah, but that's not the fucking 2 years of day and night, eyes bleeding out, studying.
Yeah, So I mean, I talked to David Banner about it. I remember I was talking to David Banner because he has a master's in education. I think he actually dropped the program, and he was like, "Nah, I know what you're going through." Like he was like, but he was like, hip hop needs somebody like you to bridge those gaps because there's so many hip hop scholars who've never participated. They write about the culture, and not to say it's inauthentic, but I do think that I bring a different voice, a different lens to that space because, you know, all of these people who are writing about hip hop, they feel it. Yeah, they're part of the culture, but they've not been in it on the level that I've been in it.
Right.
And to navigate both sides of it and talk about it from an aesthetic standpoint, I feel like we need a voice in the space of somebody who's done it before to write about it in an academic way. And usually it's one or the others. It's either like somebody super academic, but their hip hop chops ain't really up to par, or their hip hop chops are really up to par, but they're not really great with the academic stuff.
And
I think
you lived up to your name.
Right.
Like, how many rappers do you know that, you know, no disrespect, but are dumb as fucking rocks and have a name like fucking Naledge Supreme or some shit like that, you know?
So what ultimately
we take on aspirational titles. It's like my homie was talking about why do broke people name their kids after expensive cars and shit. Like it's just like,
right.
Like, what's your daughter's name? Mercedes. What's your your son's name? Bentley. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
but hey, hip hop and especially Chicago hip hop's a show and prove sport. You just fucking showed and proved.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Like, I was speaking with Mano. I don't know if you guys should know Mano. He's a producer or whatever. He Treated Crew.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we were talking. And he's like, "Nah, like we gotta take." He's like, just because you feel like what you did was confined into a space and time, you can't be afraid to like call yourself a legend or to say what you did was like legendary or to say you were in a circle that was legendary, even if it was just like, you know, I was definitely, it was like me, him, and a few other people. We were talking about like just what the scene we were creating was and how that led way to like kind of what Chance and the Save Money and the whole thing that's happening now.
Oh, you guys totally trailblazed that. You did it. The only difference is they got the money.
Yeah, I mean, they saw a lot of our mistakes. They were good about seeing the mistakes that we made. And that's one thing I remember telling Vic last time I saw him was like, he was there when we were like trying to figure out if we wanted the deal or not. He was there when we were trying to figure out if we were going to go on tour or not. He was there when we were negotiating like what we were getting paid for Lollapalooza, or he was there when we did a deal with Red Bull to sponsor our album. Like he was there, he saw these things occur. So but he also saw us make mistakes and get dropped off tours or turned down tours that we should have took, or you know, he saw those things. I mean, he wasn't the. I mentioned him because I had more of a direct hand in viewing his come up. But there were other people who came and told me, like, yo, we looked at you as the example, like Rocky Fresh, for instance. Like people like that were like, yo, like I'll listen to you in 7th, 8th grade in high school. And like it made me feel old, but it was like, that's cool. You know, I remember the first time I met Mac Miller, God bless the dead, he told me like I was one of his favorite MCs. And I'm like, really? I'm like, people in Pittsburgh listening to Kids in the Hall. I still have the email. I looked it up in my Gmail because I was like, man, I was trying to like post something about, you know, my relationship with him. And it was like from like 2010, he sent me an email saying like, you're one of my favorite MCs and we should do a song together. Wow. And that was at a point when like he was on his come up, and I was like, man, like he had a knowledge of the history of hip hop, of MCs and stuff like that I don't think people were quite aware of. Like one of his favorite producers was Lord Finesse. You know what I'm saying? Like you know what I'm saying? I don't think people really knew that about him. I think now they're starting to figure that out as people tell stories about him because he's no longer with us. But you know, I just think that some of the stuff that I've done, I'm now in a space where I'm able to say like, yo, it was super dope. Like I had a lot of freaking fun. I'm still, I have the itch to still do more. But at the same time, I'll never be the 24-year-old who just got a deal and I'll never be that person again. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I came out of it with one son, and that's it. But like, I'll never be backing down, you know. And we did a lot of this pre-social media, which I'm glad, because I probably, yeah, I'm just glad a lot of stuff we did.
It's a new game. It's a new world. It's that's the thing. I'm gonna leave with this.
We acted very stupid on tour. We did a lot of college tours, and we acted really stupid on those tours. I'm just like, I'm glad there's no record, there's no actual evidence that we were doing back then. But you know, I still love the game, and I think hip hop has given me so much, and Chicago hip hop has given me so much. You know, I had a conversation today with my friend Bree about Timbuktu and just how much he meant to my career. He did one of my first mixtapes. He hosted it. He spun at my birthday parties. He gave me my first ever radio spin on GCI. And I don't know, like, it's just some of the stuff we were doing, you know, at that period of time hadn't been done in Chicago. We were trying to recreate the best of what we saw happen in other cities and bring it here. And so to know that I was a part of that is just dope, you know. And to see the fruits of our labor kind of making a difference. Like, Chicago matters in hip hop now. It does. Like, it super matters.
Right.
And we were some of the people that made it matter, you know. So that's always fresh.
Absolutely. What's some of your plans post PhD? So you get it. We're officially doctor. What's in the future plans?
So, I mean, obviously for me, the goal is to get into the university setting, be a professor. But I do want to get back to like doing my music. But then the research that I do now, for those that aren't aware, like my research is based around music education and trying to insert hip hop into, you know, curriculums that are in urban school districts. So like my dissertation is kind of around a framework or a curriculum that I'm kind of creating that I hope is implemented in schools. Right now, the curriculum is in 11 CPS schools that we're piloting this program for songwriting and beat making. And so, you know, I feel like the dissertation will end up being a book. I also want to work on this. I also want to work on a book that details kind of the wave of creative youth in Chicago who came out of our hip hop scene to become business owners, not necessarily musicians, but business owners. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I want to detail some of that. And then as well, I want to talk about how Chicago artists have utilized the internet to kind of gain dominance search for me. So people talk about like Chicago getting on. If you realize it, like we didn't get on because of the labels. We got on because we made the internet work for us. Yeah, and that's literally why we won. Like, yeah, we had Kanye, but I think Chance is more the model of like, and Chief Keef. I brought that up to somebody as well. Like, not necessarily from an aesthetic or the music part of it, but like using YouTube was Chief Keef created that. You know what I mean? Using YouTube to the same way 50 Cent had the archetype of the mixtape where you rap over other people's beats. Mm-hmm. Drake had the first like original where the mixtape sounds like an album. Chief Keef had the like you can blow up overnight with a YouTube video. Yeah. And like he kind of took Soulja Boy's thing and ran with it in a realer way and created a cult following. And it made sense just given the way the gang culture here gave them an anthem or gave them a voice. And then Chance did that for the like middle class church kid who had his or her own angst, right? But like, And then even us, like Kids in the Hall and the cool kids, we were MySpace people. Like we dominated MySpace.
Yeah.
And that's how we got a record.
So was Sean Doe.
You know, and so my program media and tech is ironic. It's just ironic that like I can talk about myself as a case study. Like that shit's crazy that I can, you know, and it helps the students to, you know, they're like, oh, he's not just talking about it, like he actually lived it. I think it gives more texture to what I say.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. It's in my past life, quite a while back, I was a journalist, and in 1998, I wrote an article on how important the internet is going to be to independent hip hop.
Right.
I talked to Davey D from the West Coast. I'm sure a lot of people know him. I talked to Davey D and Cap D for that one because All Natural just dropped all additives, no preservatives on that. So it's kind of funny from 20 years ago. Now to all the different things, because at the time it was just the internet. It's like, independent music stores, like, like Sandbox and like all these hip hop sites and stuff like that. But that was obviously pre YouTube, pre MySpace, pre that kind of stuff still. So just all the tools that are now is kind of crazy.
Chuck D, people was laughing about this. I remember when Chuck D put this was like when He Got Game came out, I think. And he dropped an album on TuneCore. Yeah. And people were like, why would you do that? And now it's like, that's the only way to go is TuneCore. You know what I'm saying? Yep. It's like, and I think they made like $1 million off TuneCore, off that one album, because it's like they literally went direct to the consumer, and they probably had to, you give your flat fee to TuneCore, but everything is sales, it's straight sales. And you trying to tell me like Public Enemy fans didn't buy that album, you know what I mean? Like at least 300 to 400,000 people bought that album directly into your pocket. And so to think about that, this was a long time ago. Whenever He Got Game came out, I don't remember how long ago that is, but that's like 2000 what?
Well, He Got Game came out. That was their last one. He Got Game was their last one on Def Jam. That was 98. It was the one after that, and there's a Poison going on. That was the digital internet one. I think that was like 99. Excuse me.
Yeah. And so I'm just like, to be that forward-minded, forward-thinking. People thought we were crazy when we befriended bloggers. Like me and Double O sat down and we were like, yo, like, because back then it was street team, hand-to-hand pluggers. We were like, dude, there's got to be an easier way to do this shit. And we were like, we're at an Ivy League school, and we saw how Napster was moving. Just you could connect to like 10,000 computers in less than an hour. We're like, well, how can we leverage that type of technology in different ways so that we can get heard? And we're like, work smarter, not harder. You know what I mean? Like, why are we going out every night to try to hand out flyers when we can like infiltrate the computers? And we realized that we wanted the college kids to be on our shit anyway, and they're the ones who have laptops. So we were like, how can we Facebook through MySpace? That was how we figured out. But then we also befriended bloggers. We befriended a lot of hip hop bloggers, and like those people are now, editors and whatever else they are. But we befriended a lot of them and gave music directly to them and asked for their opinions. And, oftentimes went out, bought them drinks, chilled with them, whatever. And so we didn't know what we were doing at that point in time, but we put ourselves in this scene of like up and coming hip hop artists that were like favorites of many bloggers. And so that kind of gave us this title of being hipster rappers and shit. And so it is what it is, but we definitely took strategies that other people have made their blueprint, So I just know that's something that Chicago has a legacy with that. I know I'm a part of that too.
Yep. I think, and I don't know what it is about the water in Chicago, but it seems like if there's something that needs to be done and you hand it to someone from Chicago, they need like a tin can, some tape, and a flip-flop, and they'll make it happen. It don't even matter what it is. You know what I mean?
Some mouse sauce makes everything work.
It's just crazy.
It's real. Where there's a will, there's a way. Chicago, the city of big shoulders, man. Like, that's what it is. Like, you know, if you give us the lane, if you give us the light, we're gonna shine. Is for so many years we had so many dope MCs, so many dope dancers, graph artists. We weren't getting any shine because Chicago was located and situated in the way that it was. But when you put the internet, now it's like, now people are just starting to see like there's so many creatives here. We've always had a ton of creatives. We haven't never had the infrastructure that we needed. Like we have tons of artists and no labels, but like, but in terms of just having an ecosystem of artistic ability, there's no city, and I've been all over the world, and I really didn't realize how great Chicago was until I went elsewhere, and I was like, y'all don't have this? Y'all don't have this? These are your best? Like, what? No, like Chicago is so competitive here that, man, like it's almost like it's unfair, because it's like if you could be considered dope here, then that meant you could go elsewhere and people wouldn't even understand. Rapper in my high school, and I was the one who got a deal. You know what I'm saying? It's just the way the shit goes. At least I didn't think I was the best rapper in my high school, but you know,
so for some,
it is what it is.
Yeah, for somebody who has, you know, has been fortunate enough to travel and to see a lot of things and meet a lot of different people. What's you know, one or two things that you can say that makes Chicago hip hop different than other places?
I'm sorry.
Well, I was saying, since you traveled and everything, and you've experienced a lot and you've met a lot of people and stuff like that. What's one or two things that you think that sets Chicago hip hop apart from other cities?
Diversity of style. I think the thing with Chicago is like, and I just had a conversation in the studio about this. There's no definitive Chicago sound. There's a definitive Chicago aggression. Like, all Chicago MCs are aggressive. It doesn't matter. Like, no one, you know, even, you know, take, say, like a Do or Die. Like, if you put Do or Die in a cypher, they're going to rap and it's going to probably be aggressive. Even though their voices are laid back, they're going to be aggressive. Shauna, aggressive. You know what I'm saying? Earl, aggressive. Brad, aggressive. Naledge, aggressive. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You know, like even GLC, who has like this super laid back voice, if you put him in the cypher, he's gonna be aggressive, because that's where we came from, is like having to be heard with no beat, having to probably, you know, go into an open mic and rap and have nobody cared it out. We have that of like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it out, so I'm gonna rap my ass off, and you're gonna hear what I have to say. There's an aggression here, and then there's, like I said, we care about the craft a little bit differently. So it's like even the gangster rap guys like have a texture to their music that's a little bit more thoughtful in terms of like delivery and like cadence, and so that's one thing that we have. And then also I think Chicago has an ill roster of venues. Like, we have venues that, like, you know, present hip hop, like a lot of venues that allow for us to kind of find ourselves. And I didn't see that in a lot of other places. I think they romanticize these other places, and then I would see what they actually have and be like, this ain't shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I would go to these places that I heard were like, you know, etched in hip hop history and were like romanticized in movies and documentaries. And I'd be like, what's the difference between this and, you know, Sub T? Or what's the difference between this and Abbey Pub? What's the difference between this and blah, blah, blah? Where we had, you know, I feel like a really robust scene. And I think the only other city that's similar to me is Philadelphia in terms of domestically. They have a similar aggression that we have, a similar, like, you know, you can't get away with being subpar in Philadelphia. It's similar in that way. Like they are very keen on, like, if you're gonna say something, if you're gonna hold the mic, you better be saying something, or we're gonna play. And they don't care if you got #1 record out or whatever, they're gonna boo you off stage if you suck. Like, they'll boo you quick. Like Chicago's the same way. New York kind of there. If the industry indicates that you're hot, like, New York will just let that ride. LA the same way. They'll be like, oh, okay, he's hot, so cool. That's cool. You know, you're supposed, if somebody cares if you're hot, I don't care. If you have a bad night, that's what it is. And half the audience is artists. So, like, they feel like they could have your job any fucking way. like, real talk. Like, you lead a stage in Chicago, you're not gonna give autographs. Like you're gonna get battle offers. Like, you know, not like I'm trying to get on, listen to my rap. Like, I'm gonna battle you and take your job, you know. Like, so we just have a different level of aggressiveness, and sometimes that gets us in trouble. But yeah, you have to have a certain level of aggression coming from here, and that's just the nature of it. I don't know what that is. It's just, you have to be that way. Like, if there's a cipher, a Chicago rapper is not gonna get, like, overlooked. Like, they're gonna be the first one to start rapping. They're gonna be the first one to rap over somebody. It's just what it is. Like, that's the way we operate. You know, even like the Kanye jump on the table and start rapping, like, that's very Chicago. Like, that's not just a Kanye thing. Like, that's a Chicago crazy that's here in the hip hop scene. So I think that's the one thing that we have that separates us. And you know, I think every city has neighborhoods, but, like, our neighborhoods are very you can hear where an MC is from. We're a city of neighborhoods. So, like, you get 50 MCs from the South Side and they might all sound different, which is crazy. But like, that's the way it is here. And so that level of diversity, but yet all of them being dope, is one thing that other cities that I've been to don't really have. Yeah, that's what set it apart for me. Is that, and you know, Chicago is its own gumbo. I tell people it's not for everybody. This place is not for everybody. Gumbo, everybody likes gumbo. You know what I'm saying? Chicago is gumbo. Like, it's a lot of surprises at the bottom of the bowl. You know what I mean?
Well, Carlos, is it about that time?
Damn it. Oh no, it was already set up. Damn. All right.
Yeah, we.
This or that. This or that. This or that. This or that.
All right, I got two, and Doe left me with one before he dropped off. He was having some internet connectivity issues, so I'm gonna go this or that: JD or Pete Rock.
Ooh.
I really like when they do that.
JD.
All right.
I just talked about.
Is that a whisper?
KD, Dilla. I go Dilla.
Okay.
I got one real fast. We were talking about this earlier just a little bit. And if you've ever spent 1 year in Chicago, you know that everything in Chicago, you just got done saying this. We got some aggressive ass rappers. We got some skilled ass DJs. So you're either super, super hot or super, super cold. Would you rather deal with 110 degrees, 80% humidity, or -20 and you got a shovel?
I'll take the humidity.
He'll take the humidity.
Okay.
Hell yeah. Hell
I'll
yeah.
take the
Sunshine
heat.
ain't heavy at all. You don't have to shovel that shit ever.
I'll take the heat. I'll take the heat.
That's it.
Walk around with no clothes on.
Sean Doe wants me to ask Dr. Wax or Hyde Park Records.
Dr. Wax.
I'd agree. It's love Hyde Park,
Dr.
but man,
Wax, for sure.
I miss Dr. Wax.
Like, because the community alone. I mean, yeah, Dr. Wax for sure. You know, I bought my first. I remember like one of my goals in life was to flip through the sections at Dr. Wax and see my name. And because, you know, they had the sections of A, B, to C.
Yep.
And then, like, if you were like a well-known artist, then you flap. And I was like, one day I'm gonna have my own flap, and it's gonna be my art and my album.
Oh, yeah.
So the day my first album came out on Rockets, my dad goes to Dr. Wax and buys every single copy they have. And so they're like, dude, they think of this old guy. They're just like, you must really like hip hop. Like, he's like, nah, that's my son. Like,
Nice.
like I had to buy his album. So from that point, Wax was like, your album sold out at Dr. Wax. Little did they know my dad bought every album. So they're like, yo, your album must be hot. Like, it sold out at Dr. Wax. So I was like, yeah, my dad bought every copy. But yeah. Like, if you want one, you come by the house. Like,
that's that shit my dad likes.
Exactly.
And then I've got a last one here. So you live in Hyde Park. You grew up on the South Side, but you're up in Evanston a lot. So the obvious one: WHBK or WNUR?
Oh, HBK all day. That's easy.
Okay.
HBK is always HBK.
Nice.
Is there I'm trying to think. And I feel bad for even having to ask this, but it's like it's hard to get some of that stuff from down here, and I haven't paid super close attention like I should. Are there any all hip hop shows on NUR now? I'm assuming there still is, but
there was. I had there was an undergrad that I was teaching that had a show that graduated last year though, so I don't know if they still have one, but I know they did. For the last 2 years, for sure. He had like the nighttime show.
Cool. Yeah, because I grew.
For late on the weekends.
For sure. Yeah, I remember. I grew up and went up to of course, to Kevin Beecham and Time Travel back in the day, and then Mole Men had their show, and DJ Deluge had his show, and then Risky and I and Deluge all co-hosted a show there for a little while, and after that, I kind of hadn't paid attention as much as I should. So
HBK is it though, man. That was our stretch in Bobito. That was our
for sure
our way of getting access to what was going on hip hop wise.
Yep.
The amount of MCs that went up there and rapped, it was just like, man, you would have thought it was bigger than what it was.
Yeah, exactly. So Naledge, man, thank you for taking the time to put up with our craziness.
No
worries.
For a little bit. I like to. I'm so used to having to sit in these academic.
If people want to catch up with you, follow you, where can they go? How do they keep in touch with you?
So Naledge, Naledge, Evans, EVANS.com. That's my website. Naledge Evans is my Twitter handle. Naledge M Evans is my Instagram. So pretty much it's all linear. It's pretty much all the same. It's Naledge, EVANS.
Dope. Give a quick shout out to a couple people. Artistic is checking in. Infamous One is checking in. I think Bengals was checking in. So
Bengals is always there. Boy,
he's always there.
That's a good guy to have on your team.
Yes, sir. Carlos, where can people check you out?
Well, if you went ahead and just looked for Coconut Justice around the board, you would find me. And as always, I'm not quite done, but what we're going to do is show this tomorrow. This will be up. This will be up on the old Instagram. So Instagram.com/coconutjustice. You're gonna see my guy, Naledge. I might give him a little graduation cap. Like that. I like to future-proof my stuff.
That's gonna be my car. So you got the biceps right.
I know. I was looking at you. I was like, look at this dude. I'm about to run out of ink with his swole ass arms. Okay.
The bicep. I'll make that shit my profile. That's just, I like that shit.
Dope.
That looks cool as hell.
If people are looking for me, you can find me personally on Instagram and Twitter at 278media. The number's 278media. And, of course, Midway, you can follow at Midway Doc pretty much across the board. Midway Doc on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and midwaydoc.com. Check out some things. We got some cool things. I know everybody's been asking, and I don't have a definitive date on it, but I will say that vignettes are coming back soon, very soon. So one of the things we're working on, so be checking out for that kind of stuff. Again, next week is episode 50. I can't believe that we've done 50 of these already. That's kind of crazy. So we're gonna do some fun stuff with that. And yeah, once again, Naledge, dude. Thank you again for taking the time out. This has been fun, and
buddy.
Yeah, we appreciate it. So, everybody, until next week, we'll be back. Peace.
Later.